Ethan had lived on the edge of the frontier for many years, far away from towns, saloons, and trouble. He liked quiet mornings, the sound of horses walking through dry grass, and the wind that moved across the open land. People often said he was a man who minded his own business. He did not argue. He had seen enough conflict in life and wanted no part of it anymore. His small ranch, his cattle, and his dog were all he needed. One warm afternoon, as the sun slowly dipped behind the distant hills, Ethan was returning from checking the far pastures. His shirt was dusty, his boots carried dry mud, and he felt the usual tiredness after long work. But something caught his eye near the big cedar tree close to his corral. At first, he thought someone had left a bundle of cloth there. But as he came closer, he saw it was a person, no, a woman, tied to the thick trunk of the tree. Ethan slowed his horse and looked around. There were hoofprints in the dirt, mixed tracks from different horses. Whoever had tied her here had left in a hurry. They were not ranchers. They were not Apache. They seemed like the kind of men who moved from place to place causing trouble for everyone. Ethan had seen men like that before, men who thought cruelty made them strong. The woman's dark hair was tangled, her dress dusty and torn in some places, and her hands tied so tightly that the rope had cut into her skin. She lifted her head when she heard Ethan's steps. Her eyes were full of fear, and she tried to pull back, even though she was already pressed against the tree. It was clear she expected something bad from him, something she had prepared herself for during the long hours tied there. Ethan stopped a few feet away and raised both hands slowly to show he meant no harm. His voice was calm, steady, and gentle. "You're all right now. I'm not going to hurt you." But the woman did not believe him yet. She breathed, quickly, her shoulders tense. Ethan knew he had to move slow. He pulled out his pocket knife and walked toward her carefully, making sure she could see everything he did. Step by step, he reached the rope and cut it. The moment the rope fell, her legs gave out. She would have collapsed if Ethan had not stepped back quickly to give her space, letting her lean on the tree until she could gather strength. "You're free," Ethan said quietly. "Take your time." The woman did not respond at first. She looked around as if expecting the men who brought her to return. Ethan kept a respectful distance, letting her choose how close she wanted him to be. After a moment, he offered her his canteen of water by placing it on the ground and stepping back. She looked at it, then at him, then slowly leaned down and picked it up. She drank carefully at first, then took longer sips as her throat relaxed. "My name is Ethan," he said when she finally looked at him. "You're safe here. No one's going to harm you." She hesitated before speaking. Her voice was tired, rough from hours without water. "I am Naima," she said softly. They took me from the forest." Ethan listened quietly. He did not interrupt. Naima explained that she had been gathering herbs near the hills when a group of rough men grabbed her. They wanted her to reveal where her tribe stored their winter supplies. She refused. So they tied her, dragged her to this land, and left her tied to the cedar tree thinking Ethan was someone who liked to scare people. They used his name as a threat, telling her he was a harsh cowboy who would do whatever he wanted. The lie made Ethan's jaw tighten. He hated how strangers twisted stories about him. He had never harmed anyone, and he knew how damaging fear could be. "I'm sorry they used my land for this," Ethan said sincerely. "But I'm not the kind of man they told you about." Naima studied his face carefully. She still looked unsure, but she could not deny that he had freed her and stepped away, instead of stepping close. Ethan pointed toward the barn. "You need rest. There's shade inside. You can sit there. No one will bother you." Naima tried to walk but stumbled. Ethan did not touch her, but he stayed close enough in case she fell again. She moved slowly to the barn's shaded corner and sat on a low stool. Ethan found a soft, clean cloth and handed it to her so she could wipe the dirt from her arms. He did not force conversation. He simply let the silence be calm. When she seemed a little stronger, he asked, "Would you like something warm to eat?" Naima hesitated again but then nodded. Ethan cooked a simple stew with beans and vegetables. He placed the bowl next to her, but did not sit beside her. Instead, he worked nearby with his tools, giving her privacy and space. She watched him now and then. He was calm, patient, and kept his distance very different from the men who had taken her. As the sky turned orange, Naima stood up slowly, saying she should return to her people. Ethan shook his head gently. "You won't make it. It's too far, and you're still weak. You need rest tonight." "I cannot stay inside your house," she replied in a careful voice. "You don't have to," Ethan said. "You can sleep in the cabin. I'll sleep outside by the fire. You'll be safe, and you'll have your space." Naima looked surprised. She expected him to try to force her into something. Instead, he acted like her comfort mattered more than anything else. She agreed at last and followed him to the cabin. He opened the door for her, set a blanket neatly on the bed, and stepped outside without asking for anything. He closed the door behind him and went to sit by the fire, giving her full privacy. Inside the cabin, Naima touched the blanket, clean and warm. She looked through the small window and saw Ethan sitting on a wooden stool, wrapped in a thin coat, watching the land around him. He wasn't resting. He was guarding the place to make sure the men who took her wouldn't return. The firelight made his calm expression clear. He looked more like a man trying to protect a stranger than someone expecting something from her. Naima lay down, the blanket comforting her aching body. For the first time since she was captured, she felt her breathing slow. Her heartbeat calmed. She closed her eyes, knowing Ethan was outside, refusing to sleep so she could. The night passed quietly. The stars above were bright, the air cool. Ethan kept the fire alive until dawn. When morning came, Naima opened the door and found him preparing simple breakfast near the fire. He had placed her portion a few steps away so she could choose where to sit. She looked at him for a long moment, still surprised by everything that had happened. The land was harsh, the world even harsher. But in this small place, someone had chosen kindness. And for the first time, Naima felt she could trust him. The sun was still low when Naima stepped out of the cabin. She saw Ethan tending the small fire, adding a few dry sticks to keep it alive. He looked tired but not unhappy. He had stayed awake most of the night, making sure nothing threatened her. When he looked up, he offered her a small smile, quiet, respectful, and gentle. "I made breakfast," he said, pointing to a plate he had placed a few steps away from him. "You can sit wherever you like." Naima nodded and sat down carefully. Her legs still felt weak, and her arms were sore from being tied for so long, but she felt much better than the day before. She tasted the food, simple but warm, and the heat from the fire helped her relax. For a long time, neither of them spoke. It was a peaceful silence, not uncomfortable at all. Ethan finally broke it. "Your home is far," he said softly. "You shouldn't walk alone. Those men might still be out there." Naima looked up with worry. "They may follow," she said. "They wanted supplies from my people." Ethan shook his head. "Then I won't let you leave alone. I'll take you home safely." "Right?" She blinked in surprise. "You would walk all that way? Just for me?" "It's the right thing to do," Ethan said simply. "No one should go through what you did. Not alone." She watched him, seeing the honesty in his eyes. He was not a man who wanted reward or praise. He just wanted to help. For the first time, she felt truly comfortable around him. Ethan prepared his horse and made sure Naima had a soft blanket to sit on. When he offered her the saddle, she hesitated. "I cannot," she whispered. "It feels wrong for you to walk." "I'll be fine," he said with a small smile. "My legs work well enough, and you need the rest more than I do." He helped her climb onto the horse, being careful not to touch her more than necessary. Then he took the reins and started walking beside her, keeping a steady pace. The land stretched wide ahead of them, golden fields, dry bushes, and distant hills. The sky was clear, and the air smelled like warm dust and pine. As they traveled, Naima slowly relaxed. She told Ethan how her tribe gathered herbs, stored food, and moved with the change of seasons. She told him about her mother and her younger brother, who always worried too much. In return, Ethan shared parts of his own life. He spoke about how he moved to the frontier after losing family members in conflicts he wanted to forget. He told her he chose a quiet life because he believed peace was worth more than anything else. Naima listened closely, realizing he carried many old wounds that did not show on the outside. The journey was long, and Naima grew tired, but Ethan never rushed her. When she needed to rest, he stopped the horse and let her drink water. When she felt scared, he walked a little closer so she felt safe. His kindness was steady, like the calm wind moving through the tall grass. By late afternoon, the land changed shape. The trees grew thicker, and fresh tracks appeared on the ground. Apache tracks. Naima looked ahead and recognized the familiar path to her village. Her heart beat faster with a mix of joy and nervousness. "Almost home," she said softly. But before they reached the clearing, 3 Apache warriors suddenly appeared from behind the trees, their bows drawn, ready to protect their land. Ethan immediately stopped and lifted both hands to show peace. Naima quickly sat up straight and called out to them in her language. The warriors lowered their weapons the moment they recognized her. One of them, her cousin, rushed forward. "You are safe, how?" he asked with wide eyes. Naima pointed to Ethan. "This man helped me. He freed me. He protected me." The warriors looked at Ethan with new understanding. They nodded firmly and allowed him to enter the path toward the village. When they reached the main clearing, Naima's mother came running. Tears filled her eyes as she hugged her daughter tightly. The fear she had carried for days finally softened. Ethan stepped back, giving them space. He knew the moment belonged to them, not him. Naima pulled away from her mother and gently guided her toward Ethan. "This man saved my life," she said clearly. Naima's mother looked deeply grateful. "You are welcome among us," she told Ethan. Her voice carried warmth, not suspicion. The village gathered as news spread. Many people came forward to greet Ethan, surprised to see a cowboy standing quietly near the center of their home. Naima told her full story, how the men tied her to the tree, how she feared the worst, and how Ethan took care of her without asking for anything. The elders listened with serious expressions. When Naima finished, one of the elders stepped forward and placed a hand over his heart, a gesture of deep respect. Ethan bowed his head slightly, unsure how to respond. He wasn't used to this kind of attention. The tribe invited him to stay for an evening meal. Ethan hesitated, not wanting to intrude, but Naima encouraged him. "You are not a stranger here," she said softly. "You helped one of us. You helped me." He finally agreed. The meal was simple but warm, with fresh vegetables, roasted corn, and herbs that filled the air with a pleasant smell. Ethan sat among them, watching the peaceful way the villagers spoke and laughed. For the first time in a long while, he felt like he belonged somewhere, even if only for one night. After the meal, many went to their homes, leaving the night quiet and calm. Naima approached Ethan and sat beside him, near the fire. The flames lit her face gently. "I will not forget what you did," she said. "You showed me kindness when I had no hope." Ethan shook his head. "Anyone decent would have helped you." "No," she replied softly. "Not everyone would. But you did. You chose kindness when others chose harm. That matters." She reached into a small woven pouch and took out a bracelet made of fine threads and tiny beads. She held it out to him. "This is our sign of peace," she explained. When someone protects us, we honor them with this gift. Ethan accepted the bracelet slowly, touched by the gesture. Naima smiled. It means you are a friend to our people, and you are a friend to me. He nodded, not trusting himself to say more. The exchange felt special, something deeper than words could describe. The next morning, Ethan prepared to leave. Naima walked with him to the edge of the village. The air was cool, and the forest smelled fresh after the night breeze. They stood facing each other, quiet but comfortable. You have a long road home, she said gently. I've traveled longer roads, Ethan replied with a small smile. Naima looked at him, her eyes filled with gratitude. If you ever pass this way again, you will be welcome. I'd like that, he said. They shared a small, respectful nod. Then Ethan turned and walked down the path, the bracelet resting safely in his pocket. As he moved farther away, Naima watched him with a calm heart, feeling no fear, only respect. Ethan walked back across the open land, the morning sun glowing behind him. He felt different inside, lighter, stronger, and proud that he had done something good. He had not just saved a life, he had restored trust between two worlds often divided by misunderstanding. And Naima, standing at the edge of her village, knew she had witnessed something rare, a moment when kindness changed the course of a life. She would remember Ethan for the rest of her days, the cowboy who chose gentleness in a world that often chose the opposite.